Good morning and welcome to the new edition of Dr. Lamba's Awakening Call. This week, Ontario's election takes place. And whosoever wins, whether it's Andrea Howard or Doug Ford, they would have to deal with one of the most important burning questions, and that is the Ontario hydro. As a matter of fact, maybe one of the issues that forced Kathleen Wynne to concede defeat was that she knew that she has adopted the old Hitler's German philosophy, scorched earth, burn everything, and then you go so that your enemies, your opponents, your competitors who come cannot in any way build upon that. And maybe that paves the way for the return of a party. It was an absolutely horrible thing to do, what she did. And now whosoever wins would have the unenviable job of leading Ontario into a decade of that nightmare that has already seen sky-high hydro bills, and they would increase even further. Between 2006 and 2016, these decades, the average household bill on hydro doubled up. And there's no hope that they will come down. In 2006, the average household bill was $40.03 per month on electric usage. That's before the delivery charges, before the taxes and other charges. By 2016, this amount had doubled to $83.18 a month. And that is a figure given by the Ontario Energy Board. In some areas of the province where delivery fees are highest, particularly rural and northern communities, some residents have been billed as much as 200% higher. Some customers profiled in the past 2 years during the coverage of the hydro crisis said that their bill jumped to more than $1,000 a month. That being the situation here, the question arises, where do we go from here? Do we go on providing free electricity to USA and even pay them for that? Please take away our electricity. Depending on whom you ask, Ontario Energy was either a result of decades of neglect from the previous government, which left the complete hydro system outdated, prone to blackouts, outages, brownouts, and followed by coal, or by a 2009 Green Energy Act, which meant apparently a good decision to have a green economy in the province, but ended up costing us, you and me, billions of dollars. The Liberals, including Wynne and Energy Minister Glenn, always say that they had no choice. But then that shows their incompetence, not the acceptance of the reality. They said that the government needed renewable energy. Why? It was 90% hydro and nuclear. There was no need. And the coal was also clean energy. Clean coal technology was being used. And the upgrades to the provincial nuclear energies by getting rid of coal was not something which should have been done. The Darlington plan could have been postponed. But the critics said, and I agree with them, that the government set about accomplishing these tasks, which were not of prime importance. And those actions were also deeply flawed. We have been talking all the time. And we know, in hindsight, what when admitted that skyrocketing hydro bills was a mistake, is in fact today a fever pitch high, and the crisis is increasing. Struggling to pay for the food on the table while also paying ever increasing hydro bills is breaking the backbone of most of the people, especially of the middle classes and the lower middle classes. Do you know that the number of customers seeking emergency funding to prevent disconnection doubled in some areas in 3 years, between 2013 and 2016? The number of the people asking for the grant for help just to pay the hydro bills more than doubled. And the number of customers who cut off their electricity, they had to do it. Power companies were not willing to give them the time, was more than 220,000. 220,000. Imagine it. And those houses without electricity in the bitter cold, thanks to the stupid policies adopted for the last 10 years. And these people who were hit hard were not the affluent class living in the towns and the cities. They were living in far-off remote areas where the delivery fee portion exceeded many times than the actual hydro use. And Hydro One low density customers live in those areas, and they saw that they were being cheated, fleeced, robbed. At the end of 2015, more than 500,000 residential customers had not paid their bills in time, and they were owing 170 million to the local distribution companies. Hydro One, which is the highest number of customers behind the bills, was owed more than $105 million. Imagine. And then, what Kathleen did. In September 2016, she prorogued the legislature so that she could come with a fresh speech from throne. And she decided to remove the provincial portion of HST from hydro bills. Good. But that was a temporary measure. On February 17 last year, we saw that the Liberals were forced to issue an ultimatum to the electricity companies not to disconnect the electricity for the people who could not afford to pay. And then a legislation was passed. The companies did not come out to stop cutting the connections. There was an absolute dire need for the government, otherwise there might have been real riots. The government said that this plan was more like second mortgage in the house. It added 200 billions to the electricity bills of the future customers. What they had done was only postpone the thing. They had not said, okay, these hydro bills are reduced to zero, now start anew. No. They said, okay, don't pay at present, pay in the future. And who pays in the future? The user. And as a matter of fact, things got worse and spread on the cost of investing in Ontario's energy sector during multiple generations. So we, the Ontarians, have mortgaged our coming generations to Hydro One and its other associates. And I was amazed when I saw that Auditor General Bonnie said that the plan would actually cost 40 billion. The government had said 20 billion, and he said, no, government is hiding. It's 40 billion. And the accounting practice was a needless, complex structure. I'm not saying that. The Auditor General said that this is needless and complex. So now let's see these three parties which are contesting what plan they have got. And you would find that none of their plan is a competent plan. The Liberal Party plans to clean hydro. In fact, they are no longer there in the picture. But the initiative launched in September 2016 reduce the burden of electricity on the customers while ensuring the reliable debate. So between billions of subsidies, eliminating provincial HST, banning winter disconnection, she has shown apparently a commitment to protect the consumers of hydro in Ontario. But as I said earlier, she is no longer in the picture. So what do we do now? NDP and PC both have given their plans. And NDP says that Ontario plan to fix the hydro is too little, too late. I fully agree with that. But now comes the joke. If elected, NDP will say that it will cut hydro bill by 30%. And how would it cut? By buying back Hydro One. Now, I have never heard a more stupid, more idiotic comment. You want to buy something which you have sold. Why should a seller sell it to you? It's an agreement. And now if you want to sell it, what would happen? It won't add to the cost of the bill. And the revenues once back would be complete. But what will happen? Do you think the public which has bought those shares will sell it back to the government? Is there any law which can force you to resell? Suppose you have sold your house to XYZ and you want to buy and live in the house again. Is it necessary for the buyer to sell it back to you? Technically, it might be possible to buy back the company, but it could trigger consequences. Change in control mechanism will trigger tens of millions in dollars in payouts. There will be two types of payouts. The Hydro One CEO and the other executives are getting highest possible salaries, millions of dollars. So you will have to pay millions of dollars to them as a compensation. From where would that money come? Then you would have to buy at the market rate. And when the people know that the government is buying back shares at the market rate, they would say, no, we don't want to sell. And there's no law in the world ever asking that the private investors should sell until and unless NDP wants to pass a bill. And if it pushes in a bill, would it pass immediately? Until and unless it has a full majority, it may not pass at all. And even if it passes, then there will be legal complications. People will go to a court of law. Cancelling the agreement would lead to lawsuits and hundreds of millions of damages. And the result would be your hydro bill will rise higher. Meanwhile, what's happening is 60% of the Ontarians' hydro bill will impact the vote. That's true. But North Ontarians, 74%. So now she's putting up a plan to attack the 64% votes in Ontario, South Ontario, and 74% North Ontario, without explaining the implication of the plan. And now, so the absolutely stupid, zany, and clownish plan, self-defeating. And I'm reminded that economic destruction of Ontario by Bob Rae, who headed the earlier NDP government. Now come to PC. If they are elected, they'll cut hydro bills by 12%. And how would they do it? By returning dividend payments that Ontario receives from Hydro One directly to the electricity taxpayers. So they take the profit from Hydro One, will not use the profit, but give it back to the customers. So the shift, but then they will shift the attention from conservation program to the consumer and cancelling any future deals to buy electricity that province does not need. A bit more sensible. But again, if they lose that money, how are they going to run the government? The point is you need money to run the government. And you leave out a 30% segment of your revenue. How do you pull up that segment? Would you levy some other taxes? You can't print the money. Ontario is not a federal government to print the money. So how will they do it? Ford says that this plan will save customers average $173 a year. The math he has given is very vague and unacceptable. Let me be very clear. There are 5 million residential customers in the province, and dividing 248 million annual profit means $50 a year for the customer. Say average, how is it 173? I failed to understand. Divide 5 million people by 248 million by 5 million. It comes to 50 million a year and not 173 a year. The simple mathematics, a question of mathematics which a child of primary class can do, seems to have escaped Doug Ford. Whom are they trying to cheat? Whom are they trying to mislead? You and me. As a matter of fact, Ontario has already cancelled the procurement of large-scale renewable energy. So, the Ford's promise to cancel future deals has no meaning. Again, another voluble outburst without any base, without any reason, without any logic. Ultimately, what happens is, without addressing the underlying cause of hydro problem, that's the high cost of energy production, no party can cut the hydro bills. What is needed is an absolute revolutionary capability to cut the cost of production. And none of us is doing that. None of the major parties has a viable, responsible, and a serious proposal. This is all talk and nothing more than high-sounding, well-meaning talk to mislead you and me. Shall we be misled? Let alone manage the crisis that's going on here. We need management. Put the fire out. And that is possible, provided we are serious. But are the political parties serious? That's $1 million question facing you. But the plan given by both PC and NDP smack of incompetence, smack of stupidity, ignorance, and are the hallmarks of hypocrisy and cheating the voter. Are you serious? I am. Think about it. Have a nice day.